Hello everyone. My name is Trenz and welcome into my channel. To those who have been here before, welcome back. And this video is for my segment Trends Talks. Well, for this video, I will be introducing a topic and be talking about it. Experimentation with forms, Impressionism. Impressionism, a major movement first in painting and later in music that developed chiefly in France during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Impressionist painting comprises the work produced between 1867 and 1886 by a group of artists who shared a set of related approaches and techniques. The most conspicuous characteristics of Impressionism in painting was an attempt to accurately and objectively record visual realities in certain terms of transient effects of light and color. Painting. The main Impressionist painters were Claude Monet, Pierre-Auguste Renoir, Camille Pissarro, Alfred Sisley, Berthe Montserrat, Armand Guillaumin, Frederic Bazille, who collaborated and influenced each other and exhibited together. Edgar Degas and Paul Cézanne also painted for a time in the early 1870s in the Impressionist style. The established painter Edouard Manet, whose work in the 1860s greatly influenced Monet and others of the group, he himself adopted an Impressionist approach around 1873. The timeline. By the late 1860s, Monet's art influenced a new aesthetic which was to be a guiding force in impressionist work, in which the importance of the traditional subject matter was downgraded and attention was shifted to the artist's manipulations of color, tone, and textures as ends in themselves. By by the late 1860s, Monet was influenced by the innovative painters Eugene Boudin and Johann Barthold Jonkind, who depicted fleeting effects of sea and sky by means of highly colored and textural varied methods of paint application. The Impressionists also adopted Boudin's practice of painting entirely out of doors while looking at an actual scene instead of finishing up a painting from sketches in a studio, as was the conventional practice. Also during the late 1860s, Monet, Pissarro, Renoir, and others began painting landscapes and river scenes in which they tried to dispassionately record the colors and forms of objects as they appeared in a natural light at a given time. These artists abandoned the traditional landscape palette of muted greens, browns, and grays and instead painted in lighter, sunnier, more brilliant key. In their efforts to reproduce immediate visual impressions, as registered on the retina, they abandoned the use of grays and blacks in shadows as inaccurate and used complementary colors instead. And finally, traditional formal compositions were abandoned in favor of a more casual and less contrived disposition of objects within the picture frame. In the 1874 and 1886, that's the timeline. In 1874, the group held its first show independent of the official salon of the French Academy, which had consistently rejected most of their works. Monet's painting Impressions Sunrise 1872 earned them the initially derisive name Impressionists from the journalist Louis Leroy, Writing in the satirical magazine Le Charivari in 1874. The artists themselves soon adopted the name as a descriptive of their intention to accurately convey visual impressions. They held seven subsequent shows late in the last in 1886. By the mid 1880s, the Impressionist group had begun to dissolve as each painter increasingly pursued his own aesthetic interests and principles. Here we have Edward Monet's Young Lady in 1866. Young Lady in 1866. Oil on Canvas by Edward Manet, 1866, in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, New York City. And in the middle, we have Claude Monet, The Beach at St. André. Hmm. The Beach at St. André is an oil on canvas by Claude Monet in 1867 in the Art Institute of Chicago. And finally, we have Claude Monet's Impression Sunrise. A museum visitor is seen viewing Impression Sunrise 1872 oil on canvas by Claude Monet during the exhibition Impression Sun in 2017 at the Museum of Modern Art André Malraux, Le Havre, France. And next we have music. Even though Debussy was influenced by the general aesthetic of attitudes of the Impressionist painters, he made no attempts to compose with musical techniques that were closely analogous to the techniques of painting. Furthermore, the characteristics of Debussy's music are so variable from the first through the last of his compositions that even a general sense of Impressionism might be best be restricted to the most of his music composed between 1892 to 1903 and to a certain specific later compositions strongly resembling those work in style. Some of the Impressionist works would be the opera Pelias et Melisande, first performed in 1902, the instructal piece Nugas or Clouds from Nocturnes completed in 1899, and the piano piece Violas Sales in English from Duse Preludes Book 1, 1910. Other composers considered impressionistic include Maurice Ravel, who was born in March 7, 1875, Cibourg, France, and died December 28, 1937, in Paris. French composer of Swiss Basque descent, noted for his musical craftsmanship and the perfection of form and style, such as his work Bolerio, 1928, Paven por une infante defunte, 1899, Paven for a Dead Princess, the English name. We have Rhapsody Espagnole in 1907, the ballet, the ballet Daphnis at Chloe, first performed in 1912, and the opera L'Enfant et les Sortilèges, The Child and the Enchantments. Oh. I hope I said all of that in perfect accent. If not, please comment in the comment section down below. Frederick Delius, born January 29, 1862, Bradford, Yorkshire, England, and died June 10, 1937, Versailles, France, was a composer, one of the most distinctive figures in the revival of English music at the end of the 19th century. Three of his six operas, Coanga 1895 to 97, A Village Romeo and Juliet 1900s to 1901, and Fenimore and Greta 1908 and 1910. And several of his larger choral and orchestral works, Appalachian 1902, Seadrift 1903, Paris, the Song of the Great City in 1899, were first heard in Germany. And next we have Ottorino Respighi, born July 9, 1879, Bologna, Italy, and died in April 8, 1936, Rome. Italian composer who introduced Russian orchestral color and some of the violence of Richard Strauss' harmonic techniques into Italian music. Vespucci was drawn to the sensual, decadent climate of Rome depicted by the poet Gabriele d'Annunzio, and in his celebrated suite Pini di Roma, Pines of Rome, 1923 to 1924, Fonte di Roma, Fountains of Rome, from 1914 to 1916, especially, he sought to convey the subtlety subtlety and color of the poet's imagination. Other suites include Vitrate de Chisa Church Windows, 1927, Gli Uccelli the Birds, 1927 as well, Feste Romani Roman Festivals, 1929, and Tritico Botticelliano, Botticelli Tritich, 1927 for chamber orchestra. Next, we have Karol Szymanowski, born October 6, 1880, Tomashkovka, Ukraine, Russian Empire, and died on March 29, 1937, Lucerne, Swiss, the foremost Polish composer of the early 20th century. His compositions from this period, which included the opera Hagieth, showed influence of Strauss, Wagner, and Scriabin. The advent of World War I caused Szymanowski to return to his homeland, isolated from the European musical community during the period from 1914 to 1917. He composed copiously and studied Islamic culture and ancient Greek drama and philosophy. Szymanowski's work from this period include Miti, Meptiti, and Maski, show great originality and diversity of style. While the establishment of independent Polish state 1918, Szymanowski became deeply interested in the Polish folk idiom and tried to create a Polish national style, a task unattempted since Chopin. During the 1930s, Szymanowski retreated from the direct use of folk music in his compositions, and though he continued to use folk music material, his forms and orchestration recall those of his earlier works. Among the major works from this last period are Symphony Number. And lastly, we have Charles Griffiths, born on September 17, 1884, Elmira, New York City, USA, died on April 8, 1920 in New York City, first native U.S. composer to write Impressionist music. His masterpieces are the Why Peacock 1915, part of the piano suite for Roman sketches, which he orchestrated in 1919 for a ballet sequence. The Pleasure Dome of Kulbakan, 1990, after the poem by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and the poem for flute and orchestra, 1980, written by Georges Barrère. Griff's other works include dance drama Shujo, 1917, built on Japanese melodies, The Crane of Corridon, 1917, for piano, celesta, flute, clarinets, harps, and horns, and the powerful piano sonata in F major. Musical impressionism is often thought to refer to subtle fragility, amorphous passivity, and vague mood music. A more accurate characterization of impressionist music would include restraint and understatement, a static quality, and a provocative, colorful effect resulting from composer's fascination with pure sound is a beautiful and mysterious end in itself. Technically, these characteristics are often a result from a static use of harmony, ambiguous tonality, and a lack of sharp formal contrast, and of onward rhythmic drive, and a blurring of the distinction between melody and accompaniment. That is all for this topic, and thank you for watching this video. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. And see you in the next one. Bye.